My wife said, "You can't replace me," as I drove away with the silence she feared most. She was standing in the driveway in bare feet, hair half up, half falling out of whatever clip she'd thrown in, wearing my old band t-shirt and pajama shorts. Her hand was on the bonnet like she could hold the car there by sheer will. Mascara streaked down her cheeks in 2 dark commas. I could see her mouth moving. "Alex, don't you dare drive off, Alex. I'm not finished. Alex, look at me." But the windows were up and the radio was off, and all I could hear was the engine and my own heartbeat thudding somewhere in the back of my throat. I watched her in the rearview mirror get smaller and smaller, one hand still outstretched like she'd forgotten her lines mid-scene, and for the first time in 12 years I didn't stop, didn't turn the engine off, didn't go back to say, "Okay, let's talk." My fingers ached from how tight I was gripping the steering wheel. I could feel the indent of the cheap plastic digging into that bony bit at the base of my thumb. The indicator clicked on and off, way too loud in the quiet cabin as I turned out of our street. Her last words banged around my skull like a trapped fly. "You can't replace me. You'll come back. You always come back, Alex." I tasted salt and realized I'd bitten the side of my tongue hard enough to draw blood at some point during the screaming. My phone lit up in the cup holder with her name, then again with Myra work, then my sister, then unknown. I put it face down without answering. The silence was heavy, not peaceful yet, like a house right after someone slams the front door, but it was mine. We'd been together 12 years, married for 7. I'm 35M. She's 34F right now. I'm sitting in my friend's spare room 8 suburbs away, typing this on a burning hot laptop with the charger that always falls out if you move it wrong, listening to their ancient fridge make that little dying cat noise it does every few minutes. The suitcase I packed this afternoon is half unzipped on the floor because I couldn't be bothered to do the whole organized pile thing. My ring is in the bottom of my backpack next to a pack of gum and a USB with our wedding photos on it. I left our house an hour ago. I don't know if I've left my marriage yet in the legal sense, but I left the fight, the script, the version of me who always turned around when she said my name. Throwaway because she knows my main. Call me Alex, call her Jenna. Not our real names, obviously, but close enough that my fingers keep slipping and typing the wrong letters. I don't know if this is advice, a confession, or just me trying to put a shape around something that's felt like smoke for a long time. I met Jenna in one of those sticky student bars that probably shouldn't legally be allowed to operate. You know the type. Carpet that smells like spilled beer from 2009, plastic chairs, some fairy lights that someone put up for a Christmas party and never took down. I was 23 and back at uni after dropping out once already. I was in that second chance headspace, older than most of my cohort, working nights at a bottle shop, taking it all a bit too seriously because I felt like I'd wasted my early 20s. Jenna was a storm in human form. She was at the next table over, arguing with a guy about some movie I hadn't seen, waving her hands around so much she knocked over her drink. I watched her mop up lemonade with napkins, laughing, brushing it off like it didn't matter at all. She had this loud, fearless laugh you could hear over the music, and she used it a lot. When she noticed me staring, she stared right back, head tilted like, "Well, you're going to get a neck cramp," she said, sliding into the seat opposite without asking. "Either come over or stop eavesdropping. Those are the options." That was Jenna, no half measures. I was the opposite, quiet, careful, old man energy, as she called it later. I think that first night she liked how easy it was to make me flustered. She would throw out these big, provocative statements. Monogamy is a social construct, or I'd rather die than work a 9-5, and then watch my face as I tried to come up with a response that sounded thoughtful instead of terrified. We started dating fast, in that all-consuming, glued-together way you can only really get away with in your early 20s. Suddenly, my free time was just time with Jenna. We went to midnight movies and warehouse parties and 3 a.m. Macca's runs just because I feel like fries, babe. She dragged me onto dance floors, into random protests in the city. We're here now, might as well. Back to my place when she missed the last train. I'd never been with someone like her. She was intense and funny, and when she turned her attention on you, you felt like the only person in the room. When she got mad, but she always cooled quickly, and the making up in the aftermath felt like its own kind of high. Looking back, there were early warning signs. Times where her intensity slid into cruelty, where the things she shrugged off as just jokes left these little bruises I quietly massaged when she wasn't looking. Like the time she met my parents for dinner and spent the whole train ride home mocking the way my mum mispronounced quinoa, or how my dad talked too much about the council. "You're such a little suburban boy," she'd said, poking my cheek. "I'm going to have to beat that out of you." Or the first time I said I couldn't come to something because I had an assignment due. "God, you're so boring sometimes," she'd snapped. "No wonder you were single when I met you." They sound small when I write them out. They were small, tiny cuts, but they accumulated. Here's the thing, when someone gives you both the best and worst feelings you've ever had, It's hard to imagine anyone else stacking up. Jenna knew that. I think she learned pretty early on that if she put enough good in the jar, she could get away with emptying it violently now and then. We moved in together after a year. It made sense on paper. We were both paying rent, both staying at each other's places most nights anyway. The first few months felt like playing house. We bought a second-hand couch off Marketplace and carried it up 3 flights of stairs, laughing and swearing. We argued about which way the toilet paper should go. She made me throw out my ugliest t-shirts. Somewhere in there, the dynamics that had been kind of charming at the start hardened into roles. She was the loud one, the social coordinator, the one who made decisions quickly and loudly. I was the quiet, conflict-avoidant one who smoothed things over when she inevitably offended someone. "If I didn't have you," she'd say after a party, dropping her head on my shoulder as we collapsed into an Uber, "I'd have no friends left. You're like my PR manager." "I'm just the guy who apologizes for you," I'd joke. And she'd grin and kiss my jaw and say, "Exactly." There were good years, I want to make that clear. It wasn't all bad. We did road trips up the coast in shitty cars that overheated if you looked at them wrong. We got a rescue dog, Moose, who was scared of everything except Jenna. We hosted board game nights and made too much pasta and had those stupid little rituals that make a shared life feel like it's yours. We also fought a lot. Jenna loved a fight. She'd start them like other people start conversations. It wasn't always about big things. Sometimes it was genuinely important stuff. Her feeling like I didn't back her up when her boss made a sexist comment at a work thing, or me feeling like she bulldozed me when we made plans. But mostly it was noise. Like the time I forgot to defrost the chicken. I came home from a 12-hour day, drained from back-to-back classes and a kid throwing a chair, and saw the packet still in the freezer. I said, "Shit, I forgot the chicken," and before I could follow it up with "I'll grab Ty," she was on me. "You always do this," she said, slamming the freezer door. "You never think ahead. What did you think the chicken was going to defrost itself?" "It was a mistake," I said, hands up. "I'm sorry, I'll order something." "It's not about the chicken," she snapped. "It's the pattern. If I didn't run this house, it would fall apart. You'd live off instant noodles and air." I'd apologize. I always apologized first. Even when she said things that felt like they went straight through my skin, I'd be the one to say, "Okay, can we stop? I'm sorry." Because I hated the feeling of walking around the house quietly, brushing past each other like strangers. Silence to me meant the world was ending. For Jenna, silence meant she wasn't in control. "Say something," she'd demand, standing in the kitchen doorway as I loaded the dishwasher a little too carefully. "You're freaking me out." "I'm just tired," I'd say. "No, you're doing that thing," she'd accuse. "That quiet thing, like you're judging me from inside your head. It's passive-aggressive. Just shout like a normal person if you're mad." I didn't shout. I learned to fill the silence with little reassurances instead. "I'm not mad," I'd say, even when I was. "I love you, I just need a minute." She hated my minute. She'd poke at it like a bruise until I either snapped or smoothed it over. Fast forward to year 5 of marriage. The early chaos had settled into something like stability. We'd scraped together a deposit and bought a small house in the outer suburbs. I was teaching full-time at a public high school, drowning in marking but loving the kids. Jenna had worked her way up in marketing at a mid-sized company. We were talking about maybe trying for a baby in a year or two, which in Jenna speak meant she wanted to start yesterday, and in my brain meant I wanted to slow down and breathe before adding a human into the mix. That's around when she started saying it. "You couldn't replace me if you tried." Sometimes it was playful. We'd be at a party and some drunk friend would say, "If you two ever break up, I call dibs on Alex," and she'd pull me closer and laugh, "Joke on you, no one else would put up with him. Or me, we're stuck." Sometimes it was. Like the night we had a huge fight about kids. She wanted to stop using protection that month. I wanted to wait until I wasn't on a temporary contract, until we had a bit more savings, until I'd done one more year of the job to make sure I could even handle being responsible for 30 teenagers all day and a baby at home without my brain imploding. "You're just scared," she'd shouted, packing the bedroom. "You've always been scared of everything. If it was up to you, we'd still be in that shitty rental with the broken heater, eating baked beans." "Being cautious about money doesn't mean I don't want a family," I said, trying to keep my voice level. "It means I don't want to bring a kid into a situation where we're stressed and resentful all the time." "Resentful," she repeated. "Oh, you'd be resentful. You think I'm not resentful already, carrying this relationship on my back." "That's not what I—" "You should be grateful I picked you," she snapped, eyes flashing. "Do you know how many options I had? You think women like me settle? You'll never find anyone like me again. You can't replace me, Alex." It hit something deep and ugly in me, because on some level I believed her. She was a lot, too much sometimes, but she was also the first person who'd ever made me feel not boring, not just the guy in the back row who quietly gets good marks and goes home. When she said I couldn't replace her, what I heard was no one else will see you the way I do. I apologized that night too. I always seemed to. We compromised on revisit the conversation in 6 months, which is couple speak for hope the other person changes their mind by then. Then last year she got a new job. Big agency, big clients, bigger hours. She was thrilled. This is it, she said, holding out the offer letter on her phone like it was a golden ticket. This is the career leap. I was proud. I was also wary. The new job came with after-hours events, interstate trips, late nights finishing up a deck. I told myself that's just advertising. Mad Men but with more PowerPoints. Enter Noah, the creative director. I didn't meet him at first, I just heard his name. Noah hates this client, she'd say, scrolling through emails on the couch. Noah wants to pitch something completely different. Then we're grabbing drinks after work. Noah's shouting, he just landed this massive campaign. Then Noah said the funniest thing in the meeting today. I nearly snorted coffee. Again, I'm not an idiot. People have work friends, work besties even. I have a couple of colleagues I vent to about kids and marking and admin. The difference is I'm not texting them at midnight from the bathroom while my spouse sleeps. I didn't know she was doing that yet, not then. The first time my stomach twisted was when I picked her up from a work thing. It was a Thursday night. She texted me at 6:30. Networking drinks kill me, can you pick me up at 9? I don't want to Uber alone. I parked outside the bar and watched her through the window for a minute. She was at a high table, laughing at something a tall guy in a white shirt said, her hand on his arm. It was the kind of casual, familiar touch you don't normally give a boss, but what do I know about advertising hierarchies? Her eyes were bright, her posture open in a way I hadn't seen at home in a while. When she spotted me, she lit up, waved, kissed the guy on the cheek, fast, Europeanish, just friends maybe, and nearly skipped over. That's Noah, she said as she slid into the passenger seat, breath warm with Sauvignon Blanc. He's a genius, also a nightmare, you'd like him. Yeah, I asked. Pulling out into traffic. He's always pushing things, she said. Doesn't accept boring, it's exciting, working with someone who always wants more. It wasn't what she said, it was how she said it. Like she'd been starving and the new job was feeding a part of her I'd been handing microwave dinners to for years. Sounds intense, I replied. She laughed. Don't worry, Grandpa, I'll still come home to our boring little life, she said, patting my thigh. You keep me grounded, someone has to. I smiled, but something lodged behind my ribs. I wish I could say I caught them in some cinematic way, walked in on them in our bed, saw a lipstick stain on his collar. The reality was shabbier and somehow worse. It was a Sunday afternoon. Jenna was at her friend Ollie's baby shower. I was at home gradding papers, which in practice meant procrastinating by tidying up, playing with Moose, and doing that half-assed dusting where you move dirt from one surface to another. Her laptop was on the dining table, half open, the screen dimmed. I went to move it so I could lay out a stack of essays and the screen woke up. Slack was open. A notification popped up in the corner. Noah, DM you alive. I hesitated. I know, privacy, boundaries. But the little preview bubble hovered there, and before I could decide what to do, another one appeared. Noah, still recovering from last night. My stomach dropped, my hands went cold. I didn't click the message, I didn't have to. Jenna had once shown me how you can search Slack by DMs. My fingers moved before my brain caught up. I hit Ctrl+K, typed Noah, hit enter. The screen filled with their conversation. Months of messages, work stuff sure, but woven through it. Noah, you and that blue dress are going to get me fired. Jenna, Elmow, shut up, I looked like a tired raccoon. Noah, tired raccoon I want to make terrible decisions with. And Jenna, can't believe I'm stuck in bed with my boring husband, while you're out entertaining the client. Noah, you chose that life, Mrs. Grounded. Jenna, don't call me that, he's being weird lately lol. I read that line 3 times, my boring husband, he's being weird lately. Weird how? Because I'd asked twice in the last month if she was happy. Because I'd suggested couples counseling when she started sleeping with her phone under the pillow and saying, it's just work, God, you're so paranoid, whenever I glanced at it. Scrolling further down was like watching a time-lapse of my marriage eroding. Jokes about hotel room numbers during interstate trips. Oops, wrong room jokes that weren't jokes. Noah, you're trouble. Jenna, you have no idea. Then, from 2 weeks ago. Noah, I can still taste you. Jenna, stop, I'm in the back of an Uber with him. Noah, he has no idea. Jenna, he never will. I took my hands off the keyboard. I was shaking. It felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. Moose nudged my hand, whining, and I realized I'd been holding my breath. I didn't confront her straight away. I wish I could say I did, that I snapped a photo, packed a bag, left. Instead, I closed the laptop, put it back exactly where it had been, and spent 3 hours in a kind of dissociated haze. I marked 3 papers, wrote good insight in the margin of one, and had no idea what the essay was about. When Jenna came home, cheeks pink from Prosecco and sun, I watched her the way you look at a stranger on the train. She kissed my cheek, tossed her bag on the counter, kicked off her shoes, rambled about how many tiny sandwiches one person can eat. I smiled and nodded and said, yeah, at the right times. Babe, she asked eventually, squinting at me, you okay? You're doing the robot thing. The robot thing. The thing where you're here but not here, she said, waving a hand in front of my face. What's going on in there? I almost told her then. The words crowded behind my teeth. I saw your messages, I know. Instead I said, just tired, year 11 essays. She accepted that, wrapped her arms around my waist, pressed her face into my chest, inhaled deeply. We're okay, right? She said into my shirt. I froze. What? Us, she said, looking up. We're okay. Why wouldn't we be? I asked. She shrugged, looked away. Dunno, you've just been off, thought maybe I'd done something. The gall of it almost made me laugh. Instead I said, we are fine, because that's who I was in this marriage, the guy who reassured, even while his insides shouted the opposite. I lasted 4 days, 4 days of knowing and not saying, 4 days of watching her type furiously on her phone with a little smile, then flip it over when I glanced over. 4 days of waking up at 3 a.m. with my heart racing, staring at the ceiling, hearing Noah's words in my head. He has no idea. He never will. I told my sister first, not everything, just enough. We were at a cafe. She was complaining about her partner's snoring. I was stirring my coffee so much it sloshed over the side. Jenna's close with a guy at work, I said, aiming for casual, missing by a mile. My sister looked up sharply. Close how? Messages, late nights, hotel bars, I said. My throat felt tight. I saw some stuff, cheating stuff. Emotionally, definitely, I said. Physically, I don't know, probably. She reached across the table and put her hand over mine. What are you going to do? I don't know, I said, and that scared me more than anything. 2 nights later, Jenna worked late. Huge pitch tomorrow, she said, kissing me quickly in the hallway. Don't wait up, I might crash at Ali's if we go late. Okay, I said. My voice sounded like it was coming from someone else. Good luck. An hour after she left, my sister texted me, just drove past the Anchor. I'm 99% sure I saw Jenna going in with someone who was definitely not Ali. I sat there for a minute, phone in hand, feeling this weird sense of calm drop over me, like my brain had decided, right enough. I got in the car. I don't know what I expected to see, a full-on make-out session on the sidewalk, them tangled in a booth. Maybe part of me was hoping my sister was wrong, that it was a doppelganger in Jenna's jacket. The Anchor is one of those bars that's trying very hard to look like it doesn't try. Exposed brick, Edison bulbs, overpriced sliders. I stood in the doorway, letting my eyes adjust, and there they were at the far end of the bar. Jenna in her blue dress, the one Noah had mentioned in Slack, sitting on a stool, knees angled towards him, laughing at something he'd said, head tipped back, her hand on his thigh, his hand on the small of her back, thumb moving in little circles that made my skin crawl. There's a cliché about time slowing down. For me it felt more like someone muted the world. The clink of glasses, the murmur of conversation gone, just the sight of her there, inhabiting a role I'd never seen up close. Not wife, not our Jenna, just a woman flirting with a man who wasn't me. I don't think they saw me, I didn't go over. I stood there for maybe 30 seconds, watching his hand slip a little lower, watching her lean in, and then I turned around and walked back out. On the drive home, my hands were steady. My brain felt like it had zipped into some hyperrational mode. Step 1, go home. Step 2, pack enough for a few days. Step 3, wait for her to come back. Step 4, say it. She stumbled in at 1:15 a.m., smelling like gin and expensive cologne that wasn't hers. I was sitting at the dining table with my overnight bag at my feet. Hey, she said, surprised, you're up. Yeah, I replied, can we talk? She blinked, smiled that tight, wary smile she used when clients asked for just one more revision. Now. Yeah, now, I said. Okay, she dropped her bag, pulled out a chair, sat. You're freaking me out a bit, you look weird. I went to the anchor, I said. Her face did this thing, like all the muscles froze for half a second. Then she laughed, but it was brittle. What, like tonight? Yeah, I said, tonight I saw you. We were just having drinks after work, she said quickly. Everyone was there, it's networking. I saw you, I repeated. You and Noah, your hand on his leg, his hand on your back. She swallowed, looked at the table. So you were spying on me. I wasn't spying, I said. I came to see you. My sister texted me. She thought you were with someone who wasn't Ali. Oh great, now your sister's involved, she snapped. What is this, a family intervention? Jenna, I said, trying to keep my voice level because I could feel my temper rising and I didn't want this to be a screaming match. I wanted it to be clear. I also saw your messages, on your laptop, Slack, about Singapore, about hotel rooms, about me being your boring husband who will never know. Her eyes flashed. You went through my messages. They were on the screen, I said. You left it open. That's still my privacy, she said, voice rising. Jesus, Alex, do you have any idea how violating that is? You reading my personal conversations. Do you have any idea how violating it is to find out your wife is fucking her boss? I shot back, the word out before I could soften it. Silence thick, she flinched like I'd slapped her. Don't use that word, she said tightly. Which word? She stood up, started packing. You're making this sound so cheap, like it's not like that. How is it then? I asked. Enlighten me, because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're having an affair. She stopped packing and faced me, eyes bright with anger and something like panic. It's not black and white, she said. You think life is this neat little moral equation, but it's not. You've been absent. You bury yourself in school and your students in being the good husband, and you stopped seeing me. He saw me. There it was, the script. I'd read versions of it on here. I'd seen it on TV. Somehow it still hurt like a fresh wound. So it's my fault you cheated, I said dully. I didn't say that, she said. You always do this, you twist things. I'm saying it's more complicated than your sad little narrative where you're the saint and I'm the villain. You're quiet. You shut down whenever we fight. You never make decisions. I have to carry everything. Emotional labor, life admin, the future, she shrugged helplessly. He doesn't need me to do that. Being with him feels light. And being with me feels, what, heavy? It feels like a weight sometimes, yeah, she snapped. Like I'm dragging you into the life you claim to want, but then you resist every step of the way. Kids, moving, spending money on anything that is practical. I wanted a partner. Sometimes it feels like I adopted a very large, very anxious child. That one landed, right in the softest part of my chest, where all my insecurities live. I work, I said quietly. I cook, I clean, I walk the dog. I listen to you vent about work for an hour without checking my phone. I thought that was partnership. It's the bare minimum, she said. You think you should get a medal because you're not useless like some of the men my friends are dating. That doesn't make you irreplaceable. And he does, I asked. She hesitated. For the first time since I'd said anchor, she looked uncertain. It's not about him, she said eventually. It's about me, about what I want my life to look like. I don't know if this is it. She gestured around vaguely. The dining table, the dog bed in the corner, the framed print we'd argued about hanging. You said that vow, I said. My voice shook now despite my best efforts. Whatever else happens, you're my home, remember. Don't weaponize my vows, she said sharply. That's low. I'm not weaponizing, I said. I'm reminding, because it seems like you forgot. She sank back into a chair, suddenly deflated. I didn't forget, she said quietly. I changed, and I didn't know how to tell you without blowing up your whole sense of self. You're so invested in being the good husband, the nice guy who does everything right. I knew this would destroy you. And cheating on me would. I didn't plan it like that, she said, tears welling now. It was supposed to be, I don't know, a wake-up call, a phase, something I could compartmentalize. Then you got suspicious and I panicked and doubled down. I know it's fucked. I know I'm the bad guy here. I don't want you to make this all about how I'm some evil harpy and you're an innocent lamb. We both let the marriage slide, Alex. There it was again, shared blame. And look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I was perfect. I did withdraw sometimes. I did avoid hard conversations. I did say we'll figure it out later, about kids and money more times than I should have. But the part where she chose to sleep with someone else, that was on her. I'm not innocent, I said, but I didn't bring a third person into our bed. She snorted, "Please, spare me the hallmark lines." We went in circles for an hour, her crying, then angry, then quiet, me stubborn, then devastated, then weirdly numb. At one point she said, "So what, you're just going to leave?" in this incredulous voice, like that was a ridiculous overreaction. "We can work on this, people come back from worse." "I don't know," I said. "Right now I can't even look at you without seeing his hands on you." "You're being dramatic," she said. "What, you're going to throw away 12 years over one mistake?" "It wasn't one," I said. "It's months, it's lies. It's you telling him I'm boring and clueless while I cook dinner for when you get home." She rolled her eyes. "God, you're going to dine out on that line forever, aren't you?" "At least I'll have something to dine out on," I said, the bitterness surprising even me. Eventually, we hit the wall. The conversational one, not the literal one, though by that point I wouldn't have put it past us. "What do you want, Alex?" she asked finally, sagging against the doorframe. "Like actually, not what your therapist would tell you to say. What do you want to happen next?" The truth was, I didn't know. Part of me wanted to rewind a year. Part of me wanted to burn the house down. Part of me wanted to lie down on the kitchen floor and go to sleep for a month. "I want you to be sorry without conditions," I said slowly. "I want you to not make this about how boring I am. I want you to say, 'I fucked up, I hurt you, and I will do whatever it takes to rebuild this if you'll let me. And I want to believe you, I don't know if I can.'" She stared at me. For a moment, something like vulnerability flickered across her face. Then her jaw set. "I am sorry," she said, "but I'm also being honest. I can't promise you I won't resent you later if we fix this and then I wake up in 10 years absolutely hating my life. I can't promise you I won't always wonder what if. And you deserve better than that, right? That's what you want to hear." "I don't want a speech," I said. "I want clarity." "Clarity is this," she said, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. "I don't know if I want to be married anymore. To you, to anyone. I feel trapped. And that's on me. That's my shit. But I'm not going to stand here and beg, and I'm not going to let you paint me as this cartoon villain to your saint. I'm more than this one terrible thing, and so are you." I sat with that. The room felt too small. Moose whined again from his bed, sensing the tension. "I'm going to stay at Chris for a while," I said finally. "I need space." "Running away," she said, scoffing, but there was fear under it. "Taking space," I corrected, "for once." "You won't last a week," she said, and there it was, the line. "You'll miss me, you'll miss this, you'll miss Moose. You'll miss having someone to cook for, to talk to. You can't replace me, Alex. You don't know how to be alone." "I guess we'll find out," I said. She laughed this harsh sound. "You're not built for it," she said. "You need someone to orbit. You need someone to tell you who you are. Without me, you'll just fade." Something in me went very, very still at that. Her conviction, the way she said it like a fact, like she was the sun and I was some cold rock doomed to tumble into nothing if she stopped shining on me. I picked up my bag, went to the door. She followed, talking fast now. Words tripping over themselves. Apologies, accusations, predictions. "You'll be back," she said as I opened the door. "You always come back, you can't replace me." I didn't answer. I stepped out into the night, the air cool on my flushed face, and walked to the car. She trailed after me, barefoot on the concrete, still talking. "You're not even saying anything," she yelled as I put my bag in the back seat. "You're just sulking, say something." I got in, started the engine. Her voice came through the closed window, muffled. "You can't replace me," she shouted, hitting the bonnet with an open palm. "Alex, Alex." I looked at her one more time. Her hair wild, eyes wide, fingers splayed on the metal like she could hold me there. And then I put the car in gear, slowly reversed, and drove away with the one thing I'd never used as a weapon before, my silence. So now I'm here, in Chris's spare room, with a mug of tea going cold on the floor because I forgot about it halfway through this post. My phone has 12 missed calls, 6 from Jenna, 3 from my sister, 1 from her friend Ali, 2 from unknown that I'd bet money are Noah. There's a string of messages from Jenna ranging from "we need to talk like adults" to "I can't believe you just walked out without even discussing logistics" to "if you're at your sister, that's pathetic, grow up" to "I'm sorry" to "I love you, please come home." I haven't answered any of them yet. That's new for me. My default has always been immediate response. Fix it now. Smooth it over before it calcifies. Sitting in the discomfort like this is excruciating. The thing Jenna fears most is silence. Not just the absence of sound, the absence of access. If I'm talking, if I'm explaining, if I'm engaging, she can work with that. She can argue, persuade. Poke at weak spots. If I'm quiet, truly quiet, not sulking, not storing up ammo, she has to sit with herself. And I don't think she likes her own company much. She's not wrong about everything she said. That's the mindfuck. I am scared of change. I do avoid conflict. I did let her take the lead on a lot of things because it was easier. I probably have, in some ways, hidden behind being the good one to avoid examining where I've failed. I also know this. I have spent 12 years internalizing the idea that I am lucky. Lucky she picked me. Lucky she stayed. Lucky she put up with my anxieties, my caution, my quiet. Every time she said, "You can't replace me," a part of me nodded along. Yeah, probably not. Driving away tonight, gripping the wheel with white knuckles, I thought about what replace actually means. I'm not going to go out next week and find a manic pixie dream wife with the same laugh and the same temper. I don't want to. People aren't job vacancies. But I can replace what my life has become with something else. I can replace walking on eggshells with walking my dog in peace. I can replace endless arguments over tone and timing with conversations where both of us feel heard. I can replace the version of me who flinches whenever a phone lights up with one who trusts his own instincts. I don't know yet if that something else will eventually include another relationship. Right now, the idea of letting anyone that far into my life again makes my skin feel too tight. Maybe in a year or 5, I'll meet someone at a boring teacher conference or in a supermarket aisle arguing with a stranger about pasta shapes, and it'll happen slowly, quietly, without fireworks or ultimatums. Maybe I won't. What I do know is that Jenna was right about one thing and wrong about another. She was right that I don't really know how to be alone. I jumped from my parents' house to share houses to Jenna without ever really living in a space that was just mine. Tonight, in Chris's spare room with my clothes spilling out of a suitcase, I'm getting a crash course. It's terrifying. It's also weirdly okay. The world didn't end when I didn't reply immediately. The sky didn't fall when I didn't run back the second she cried. She was wrong that I can't replace her. Not as a person. She'll always be Jenna in my head with her specific laugh and her specific way of cutting me down and then building me back up. But as the axis my life spins around, yeah, that I can replace. With myself first, with friends who don't treat my feelings like optional DLC. With maybe, someday, someone who doesn't need to tell me I can't live without them to feel secure. I don't know what's going to happen in the next week. We have a mortgage together, a dog, a whole tangled web of joint responsibilities that don't evaporate because I drove away once instead of turning back. There will be solicitors and spreadsheets and probably more fights. Maybe we'll try counseling. Maybe this was the final crack and we'll sign papers in 6 months, hand Moose's leash back and forth on scheduled weekends like divorced parents. Right now, though, for the first time in a long time, I'm sitting in the quiet and not rushing to fill it. Jenna might be packing our kitchen, waiting for my name to pop up on her screen so she can start the next round. Maybe she's crying. Maybe she's drinking wine and telling herself a version of this story where she's the hero. My wife said, "You can't replace me," like it was a curse and a promise, like I'd shrivel without her, like my life was a show that only ran because she was the star. I drove away with the silence she feared most. It's not comfortable yet, it's not triumphant, it's just there, heavy and real and full of all the things I don't know yet. And for the first time in 12 years, I'm starting to think maybe that's not the worst thing.